Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks. Why do most trades companies need corporate credit, not just business credit?
Well, you need corporate credit because it's all on the corporation. Business credit is going to be tied to you personally, no matter what you do. So you got to, it's kind of a process. You start out with personal credit, business credit, you co-signing for the business, and then corporate credits when you get on the other side of the realm where you can get stuff on the EIN number.
Now you say on the EIN number, I mean, you've still got to use your social security number. You still got to use all that, right?
No.
Really?
Nope. You can get past it. So if you can demonstrate the ability to borrow and pay on the three major credit bureaus for businesses, then you can get funding on that EIN number without even looking at your personal credit.
And two of those credit bureaus are also for personal.
Yep.
Experian and Equifax.
Yep. They have a separate division. Yep. So they have a Equifax business, an Experian business, and also everybody knows the big daddy, they call it, Dun & Bradstreet.
And when somebody tells you their business or their corporate credit is almost 800, they telling you right there they have no idea what they're talking about.
No idea. And I laugh at them, and they're like, "Why are you laughing? Let me check it for you."
Right. That's almost 800. That's amazing. No, I completely agree. For your personal credit, that's great.
Yep, 100%.
But business or really corporate credit is 0 to 100.
So there's a lot of new things coming out in the past 12 months. So it's typically 0 to 100. There's also now a new measuring factor, 0 to 890. So if you said 800, well, maybe you know what you're talking about, but I just barely know what I'm talking about when it comes to that new scoring mechanism, right? So most people are going to be looking always at their personal and say, yeah, or if they say, I pay all my bills, I have to have business credit. That's what I always thought.
Is there really such a thing as business credit, or is it really a business extension of your personal credit?
It's a business extension of your personal credit. The problem that people run into is that 95% of lenders and vendors, store accounts, whatever you want to talk about, major institutions, less than 5% report. 95% do not report. They may not report on your personal either if it says it's business, but they're not reporting for the business either. And so what we do is we work with that 5% that does, so that you can actually get that demonstrated ability to borrow and pay.
So first of all, explain to everybody who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Brent Barnhart. I'm with TJ Corporate Credit. We actually work with small business owners to help them, play in Wall Street sandbox. That's exactly what we do. We teach them how to play in Wall Street sandbox, getting them access to funding on their EIN number, teaching them the process to do that, giving them one-on-one coaching so that when they get to the point where they can access money on their EIN number, not only are they going to be able to access more money, but they know how to do it themselves now. So that's what we do. We've been doing this for, our back office has been doing this for 15 years.
Now, this is a whole new world to a lot of people.
Yep.
And it's funny because I probably met you around January, and we're going through the process, trying to build corporate credit, because everything right now is basically tied to my social security number. And luckily my credit score is good. I'm under 800, but right around in there. If I want to go buy a new truck today, I pull out my social security number. I can. I can go buy probably any truck that I want. But when you've got your corporate credit right, you just literally write down your EIN number.
Correct.
And a lot of people are like, no, we need your social security number. You're like, no, you don't.
Yep. You can get into a flat out argument at a car dealership with people because they don't understand it either. But I'll give you an example. So we had a gentleman come on board with us, down here in Texas. He was a one-man painting show, drove an old Ford Econoline van. He signed up with us. He's, struggling, as a lot of people are with the way things are. The Ford Econoline breaks down on him about 4 months after he starts working with us. And he's like, I went shopping, and I wasn't sure where he was in the platform. He wasn't sure where he was in the platform. So he goes to Ford dealerships, looks at a brand new Ford Transit. Okay.
They're not cheap.
No, they're not. No, I used to have a bunch of them.
I had 4 of them, so
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I bought 6 in one day when I had my trucking company. But he goes in there, is looking at it, talking to a personal salesman, and they're like, "What are you using it for?" And he said, "For my business." And they go, "Well, let's go talk to the fleet finance department." So they go talk to the fleet finance department, and he got approved on his EIN number alone without a personal guarantee at 1.9% interest.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So how does someone go from being in a position like me? I've got multiple companies. I remember going down, setting up all my accounts at Chase. My social security number's on every one of them. And they're all set up as business accounts. Is there a specific corporate account you can set up, or do you change business accounts over, or do you just say, hey, here's where we're at. We messed up in the beginning. What should someone know from the very beginning to do things right? And if they started off not doing it right, what do they go through to fix it?
So that's a lot of great questions.
It's a lot of questions. I know. I know it's 2 questions, but I know there's 100 answers in it.
Yeah. So I always love talking to people that are starting out. I love talking to them because
it's the best time. You haven't messed anything up.
That's right. Everything can be corrected, but when we start with a new member in our organization, we can show them everything from the beginning on how to set the business up correctly. So there's 150 things out there that banks look at or institutions look at to determine if your company's even a good bet. So we make sure those 150 things are lined up in our very first step. So I'll give you an example. I used to pop out EIN numbers for people all the time. I just knew how to do it. Take me 2 or 3 hours. Here you go. Here's your articles. Here's all your stuff. Now it takes me 4 days. You have to have a website. You have to have your corporate phone number listed with 411. You have to have an email at that domain. All things I never had. You know, I always used to get so excited whenever I could finally afford a P.O. box, right? You're like, I made it big time.
You bet.
And that's a number one reason people get declined for corporate credit is using a P.O. box as your actual address. And so starting out, perfect
See,
time.
you messed it up for everybody. See, you had so many P.O. boxes that you just messed it up for everybody.
Yep. And then it's not hard to go back and fix things that people have, I'll give you another example. We work with companies from 0 to $850 million. And one thing they all have in common, it's the very first 2 steps in our platform have to be redone. Meaning that 150 items and then registering with the bureaus correctly. So they always have to go backwards. I was on the phone last week with another Texas company that's about 30 million in revenue. And he has an American Express business card and he spends $100,000 a month on it. Well, American Express business doesn't report. And so he's got to figure out another tool so he can get that spend reported on his bureaus. And I said, sometimes you got to crawl before you walk. And I said, you may have to go out and open some accounts that you don't need as a $35 million company, but utilize them for a couple months. And then you can move into that next level of card.
Which we're doing. I mean, we set up a office supply account where we're spending $51 a month on paper, pens, or whatever. We don't necessarily need that.
Right.
We've got Amazon.
Right.
Hey, Amazon, send me some more paper. But there's steps that you go through, and literally it starts with very easy steps. And I say starts with, that's not necessarily true. The 150 things you've got to do right. How long does it take most companies that have already started, already been in business, to go back and, I'm not going to say correct, make sure and check and double check that list of 150 things are done and done right?
Yeah. So our platform, when they log into our platform, it actually will verify everything. It searches the web and it'll go out and verify. So if their address is wrong or needs to be adjusted, we actually tell you, go to the IRS, adjust, send them the address change form. And we all know how slow the government is on those deals. So it just depends on what they have to do in there. They don't have a website. I mean, we actually have website people that can actually build websites for them. Just little things like that. It doesn't take that long. I cheat because I know the process now. So I can get through step 1 in one day because I'm doing things the right way the first time. So, when somebody's starting out, it's easy peasy. You can do it in 1 day, 2 days, whatever. When you're going backwards, I'll tell you, I had some clients out of Utah that they had 4 Dun & Bradstreet profiles, 4 Experian profiles, and 3 Equifax profiles.
All for the same company.
All for the same company. And they had acquired that company 4 years ago. And so there's even a profile for the previous owner. And I worked with them over the course of about 3 weeks, and we got them all merged together into one profile per deal. So, I mean, it does take some time. You don't want to even start applying for credit until that's all merged together, because what if the institution reports to the wrong one, and then you got to go back and merge. So, making sure all that stuff is correct can take a little time. And then once you get through the first 2 steps, then you're going into applying for the credit like you'd have. And then there's a 45-day wait, because you got to wait for them to report what you bought and what you paid.
Right.
And then then it's just a steady movement after that.
And it's just like anything else. You know, we all remember graduating high school, and, you know, Target or somebody sends you a $200 credit application to get your first credit card. It starts with little bitty steps like that, doesn't it?
100%. 100%. You know, it's funny you brought that up, because I always talk about that. Imagine when Target sent you that credit card, they didn't report. Did you build personal credit?
No.
That's how corporate credit works.
This video is sponsored by High Level. For your 30-day free trial, go to gohighlevel.com/Roger Wakefield. So starting out, brand new companies are really easy to do if you do it right from the get-go.
Yep. 100%.
But companies, and I'm associated with a company that's been in business 12 years now. As soon as we started talking, I reached out to them and said, hey, or do y'all have corporate credit? Like, oh yeah, we got tons of corporate credit. It's like, okay, how have y'all got it set up? It's, well, you know, Mike goes down, signs for everything, puts it on, puts his social security number. I said, that's not corporate credit. That's business credit. And he's like, well, no, it's for the corporation. I understand that, but there's a difference. Most companies don't even know. Say there is somebody that's a company that's doing $50 million a year. They've got multiple officers, stuff like that. Most stuff is in one person's name or social security number, because they keep his credit pristine. How does a company like that start off with somebody like you to say, look, we want to take everything out of personal credit. We want to take everything out of business credit. We want to take everything off our social security numbers and start growing our EIN number. How long of a process is that? And what does it really look like?
Yeah. So great question. We actually, so when there's a big company like that, I'll give you another example. I got examples for days. I met with a guy in Florida yesterday, and he was just a $5 million company, but he had a credit limit recommendation on his corporation of $300K. Well, he spends $2 million a year. Well, what he needs to do, number one, is get as much all that $2 million reporting as possible, as humanly possible, right? And so if he can pivot that stuff, a $50 million company, what do they have reporting? You know, we pull credit profiles. You'd be shocked. I pulled a $25 million company one time, and it said cash transactions only, but they pay their bills. It's just nothing was reporting on it, right? So it's all about making sure that we have it all set up and that they're getting every aspect of their business reporting, which brings me to the next point. We actually, and I don't even know if you know this yet, Roger, we actually worked out a deal with the nation's largest privately held PEO, full HR company, to report to all 3 bureaus for corporate credit, payroll. So your payroll, what's the biggest expense?
Oh yeah.
What we're trying to do is capture every single expense that we can inside the business and put it on the credit bureaus as your demonstrated ability to borrow and pay. The more you show, the more access to capital you get.
And it makes sense. I mean, you're talking about a company that does $2 million a year spending, and he's got a $300,000 credit limit.
Yep.
It's like, that's almost the monthly payment right there,
Yep.
you know? and it's like, okay, you're definitely showing somebody that you can make the payments. I mean, you're not just doubling that every year, and next year it's 4 million, next year it's 6 million, next year it's 12. It's literally, you can pay that money back, but your corporate credit is a zero.
Yep.
How do people check their corporate credit, or is that even something they can do?
Yeah, you can do it. It's actually public information. Anybody can check anybody's at any point in time. So we actually pull people's form. It costs money. I've experienced around $50. Dun and Bradstreet's 175. I usually don't pull that one. And then we have a combination report that it's supposed to grab from all three. Sometimes it misses some of them. And that one, I think they're about $30 a piece. So we pull them for people. People can go out and pull their own credit, their own business credit. But when you're doing that, obviously they want you to pay for it. So we do it for free, which is another thing that, is really good for the blue collar people, because Roger, if you went and worked for a general contractor and they said, hey, Roger, we're going to put you on that 45. You heard me say that it doesn't hurt the credit to pull it. It's public information.
Right.
You can say, hey, Brent, will you run their credit for me? And less than 5% report. Guess how many report the bad stuff? 100%.
Oh,
So-
well, yeah. Okay. Just like same thing on personal.
Yep.
They may
And-
never report how good you're
Right.
paying your cards on personal, but you miss a payment, they're reporting it now.
Yep, 100%. And so if their credit report's all red, it keeps Roger from getting in a situation 45 days out. You could say, whoa, I looked at your credit profile and
Yeah, I don't want to wait 45
7
days.
days,
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
you know what I mean? It changes terms. We see this day in and day out where, HVAC companies, electricians, they're 1-2 man shows, and they're covering the bill for a larger corporation that's not paying their bills. And so they're sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. I was on the phone on a call the other day with a guy. He's like, I'm going to have to put liens on people's stuff. It's just and especially right now, I don't know what, everybody's kind of holding money right now. It's the nature of the current state of the economy, I guess.
That'll change November the 8th,
Yep.
Somewhere around in there, 7th or 8th.
Right.
So, and I say that, well, it may not change. Yeah. God, we hope it changes. But it's always like that before an election.
Yep.
And I don't mean anything one way or the other on the
Right.
election. This time of year, every 4 years, everybody starts saying, wait, we want to pull this
Yep.
back. And they say, well, we were going to start fourth quarter, but now we're looking at moving into the first quarter. And, there's reasons that they don't know what's going to happen in the economy that we're in. A company calls you, and first of all, companies that are out there that have not started building corporate credit, do they have any just because they're a company?
I will tell you the average dollar amount that I see on credit reports, and it doesn't matter the size of the company, can be a $100 million company, is $1,500 in credit limit recommendation.
$1,500.
$1,500. That's the average. That's, more.
And if you're a $50 million company, that doesn't even cover payroll for the day.
Right. For the hour, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So John Q. Public Company calls you and says, hey man, look, I've been in business 10 years. We're doing $5 million a year. I heard about this thing you're talking about called corporate credit. You run a credit report on them and it's bad. They've done something bad. It's either taxes, it's accounts they set up at places that did report, whatever it is. They've got bad corporate credit. First of all, what does bad corporate credit look like? Is it a score of like 0 to 5? Is it just, hey, it's negative or negative reporting? What's it look like to you?
So negative reporting. The score a lot of times isn't going to reflect a whole lot of that. It can. I saw one the other day that had negative, and I was on the Zoom with the gentleman, and it showed a negative past 90 days, $437,000. He's like, I don't have anything that's late ever. So that's all misinformation. So we got to go in there and get that stuff removed. Prove it's not his.
Does it take about as long as it does on
Yep.
personal credit? I mean, you got to reach out to the creditor, say, hey, look, that really wasn't us or whatever it is.
Yeah. And that's, where I say you got to make sure everything's done correctly. That's where we run into hiccups. So the negative stuff being put on there is stuff we can get removed if it's been paid. So like if there's a tax lien and it's been paid, you can actually get a hold of the bureau and say, hey, here's my receipt. I paid it. And they'll actually take it off the report.
Okay.
When you get the past due, it's always going to be on there as a trend for so many years. But if it wasn't you, we can get it removed.
Again, about 7 years, like personal or
3 to 5 years.
3 to
usually.
5.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Still, if you're a business, that 3 to 5 years can be a long time. If you get into a position where you need that corporate credit.
Yep. So here's what you do. When you have something, if you had a spell last year where you were, getting behind on payments, number one, if it's on the report that you got behind, you move forward. You're just going to move forward. You're going to continue to pay things on time now. And it has an aging chart. So it shows that you struggled last year, but now you're doing good.
Right.
So it's trending up. So it's going to help you when you're going out and getting funding for the business.
A company that does $5 million a year, good, easy number. What kind of corporate credit have you seen them build up in a year, 2 years, 5 years, something like that?
Yeah. So it goes back to how much money they spend, right? So depending on what they get reporting. I mean, we've had companies that come over and they're like, well, I really like my Amex card or my whatever card.
Right.
I don't want to stop
I like
using
the Amex card. They give me points and I
Yep.
get to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Great. Your credit score's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they'll step in, but they won't bring it all over. Those guys aren't going to see the result that they should.
Okay.
Right. If a $5 million company, let's just say they're spending $4.5 million of those dollars every year, you're going to take probably.
No, I get it. They look at me on paper like, man, you make a lot of money, but dadgum, you spend a lot of money too. It's
right.
like, I know.
Well, and that's what I always joke. A $5 million company is probably spending $5.2 million a year.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, to be honest, you're probably right.
Right. So if they can get everything to report, even if they get the payroll in there to report as well, and they can show that $4.5 million of purchase power every single year, they're not going to have it year one, but over time, 2, 3, 4 years, they will get that because they're demonstrating that they can borrow and pay $4.5 million every year.
So you've seen a company that size go up to about that much credit.
Yep. 100%.
Man. Okay. A little mom and pop company's doing $300,000-$400,000 a year.
Yep.
Struggling, but man, that they're doing it. They don't take much money out for them because they live in the business. I know what that's like, but $300,000 or $400,000 a year, they can still build up even that same type credit and have the borrowing power that when a great opportunity comes along, they can borrow money against their corporate credit and it doesn't affect them personally at all. This video is sponsored by High Level. We've partnered up with High Level because we believe this is the best all-in-one sales and marketing platform to help you grow your business. For your 30-day free trial, go to gohighlevel.com/Roger Wakefield.
I actually have a client that has a company that's doing it was doing $394,000 when he came on me, so just under $400K. After 2 years of going through our system, he's at $264,000 credit limit recommendation. He actually has another company that was it's struggling because he has that Amex card he doesn't want to quit using.
Yeah.
And I always tell him, when I argue with people about that, what do you think? Do you think that you get better points and rewards than Wall Street does?
Yeah.
I mean, you get a corporate card, you go back. I always tell people, you got that Amex card, great, get rid of it. And then you're going to use it still because it's a big limit, right? So step it out. And by the time you can go back and get the Amex corporate card, which does report this life, right? They're going to give you one that reports after you get there. They're not going to help you get there, but you can get that Amex card in the corporation only name and they'll report that one. And now you're back to your Amex, your points and all that stuff. You got to go through a year of stepping out and back in.
Is there any type of business that this does not work for?
That I get that question a lot. I haven't found one. Nonprofits work. I brought on members at record labels, lawn mowing companies, blue collar, anything, trucking companies, churches. I mean, you name it. If it has an EIN number, credit can be built on it.
Wow.
We do shell companies. I actually have a company that I started March 27th of last year. I'm not doing anything illegal, but I'm.
Wait, I want to back up when somebody says, but wait a minute, I'm not doing anything illegal. Okay, wait a minute. No, shell companies, umbrella companies, look, those are great things to have if you know how to use them strategically.
Yep. So I started building credit on that EIN number, and I've had companies that were $6 million, $50 million, never had any corporate credit more than $7,600. This company that I started March 27th of last year has more corporate credits, $50,000 recommendation. Guess what the revenue is? Zero. I'm using it for my everyday expenses. So I'm using those business credit cards to go to the grocery store, the gas station, buy my airplane fuel, whatever. I'm using everyday expenses. I'm paying for it personally. That's where I said I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm not claiming it on taxes. It's all personal expenses, but I'm building a credit profile in a business that I'm not even sure really what it's going to be yet. But it has a website. I say it's going to be a real estate company. Maybe, real estate goes down. Maybe it's going to be, I don't know. I've talked about giving it to my daughter. You can gift corporate credit to a family member or a key man employee. So one of my daughters wants to start a business. I may just give her that, and then guess who she doesn't have to come for to get money from.
Yeah, absolutely. Very nice. So ever since the first time we talked, I mean, my wheels have been running, right? But believe it or not, that there is a brain in here that works. It's not all the time. I literally look at, again, we're talking to tradespeople mainly.
Yep.
How many tradespeople come to you and talk to you and say, "Oh, I've already got all that. I'm already doing all that"?
I probably in the past 2 to 3 years have ran across 1 or 2 people ever. And I meet with people all day, every day that are actually going through this process. There are a lot of companies out there that offer similar things, but not exactly what we're doing. So there's a ton of people out there that say they have corporate credit, and then I pull their credit and they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, what's this?" Yeah, this is your corporate credit. So they think they have it.
Right.
They think they're doing it. I had a gentleman. I spoke at an event here in Dallas last year. I had a gentleman come up and he goes, "I work on Dun & Bradstreet every single day." And I said, "Congratulations. You forgot about 2 of them."
Yeah.
And, so he actually came on as a member, so we work on those other 2.
How hard is it to get started? I mean, if you talk to an adult, and a lot of adults have gone through bad credit and straightened it out and turned it around, and they realize, well, this stuff really does get reported or something like that. You talk to an adult that's done this and they're like, "Oh my God, I've already done it with my personal. I don't want to do it again with my corporate." But the good thing is if anything ever does happen with your corporate credit, it never affects your personal credit, does it?
Once it's on corporate, it doesn't. So if you personally guaranteed something on the business journey, on the credit journey, if you personally guaranteed something and you stop paying it, they're going to negative report corporate or the business profile first, and then they're going to go to your personal because you personally guaranteed it. So the goal is to get away from it when it's all corporate. I have corporate credit cards now for that company that has no income. I didn't even tell them my social or my date of birth, which means couldn't do a soft pull, hard pull on my credit. I've just straight put in the business information and got it.
So it affects the corporate only. Nothing on your social security number, nothing on your date of birth. So they can't even prove that you're the right one they loaned it to personally. What happens if you've got corporate credit, you're buying, you're growing, you're doing things, your partner dies and y'all end up shutting down the business goes bankrupt, whatever happens? How does that come back and hurt you personally on your personal credit or any of that?
If you've got everything over on the corporation, it doesn't affect you at all. People all the time are like, how does Wall Street do this? And that's actually what I said when I sold my trucking company. I said, I don't want to tie my personal assets up anymore. I went actually looking for a corporate job. And I said, I don't know how Wall Street does it. I actually exactly what I told my wife. And now I'm like, I know how Wall Street does it. So a business owner in Wall Street could close a business today and start a new one tomorrow and go to that same bank more than likely because they have the separation. And so that's a whole nother thing. You can, build multiple of these up. If you build multiple companies up, now you've got purchase power where you can combine them and loan money to a new corporation, start a brand new corporation, and you've got corporate loans through banks to go to the other corporation. So now, I always like to use real estate developers, do a lot of them guys. They have every one of their properties should be a business for liability purposes. Mm-hmm. Okay. So they take all 15 rentals. 15 businesses, set them all up. This is a guy doing rental houses, nothing, no duplexes, no fourplexes, all houses. He builds corporate credit on all 15 of them. Okay. By his everyday expenses for the repairs, maintenance, stuff like that. He may not have a lot, but let's just say he gets up to $100,000 in credit for each of them. Now he's got $1.5 million. He can start a brand new company and go buy a commercial piece of real estate.
Wow. That's very interesting. So somebody watching today that's been in business for 10 years, they've never heard of corporate credit. Everything's been on their name, their business account, their social security numbers on, anything like that. What's the first thing they need to do?
They need to schedule time with me, and I'll show them the credit report. Show them the credit report and show them what we do and how we do it.
And how long does it take? Not just really the initial call probably doesn't take very long at all. I think we've sat on the phone for about an hour, 2 hours at the most, something like that.
An hour.
You've been on the phone with my people to hold their hands, show them, hey, step by step.
Yep.
Somebody, you got Chuck in a truck out there. He's been running his own company. He's finally hired a couple of people. He's in the office more. Now he realized, look, if I had some credit, I could grow. I could do unique things. I could build a bigger website, start a YouTube channel. I mean, I could do whatever I want to do. How long does it take them to get to that point where it really starts working and you can see results?
Well, it just depends on their dedication, honestly. If they're dedicated to doing it, especially a trucking company, those guys are great because they have a lot of expenses. 6 to 8 months, usually they're at that top tier credit level, and then they're really working on the purchase power at that moment moving forward.
I love that.
Yeah.
Good deal. What kind of places do people need to start looking at? I guess really it starts off with phone call because it's a strategy. It's not just, hey, I open an account here, open an account here, and open an account here, and they all report.
People go online and they see some silly videos. You can search, how do you establish corporate credit? And
there's a million videos.
A million videos, and I've watched a bunch of them, and it's just everybody's got a different idea.
Right.
Everybody has a different idea how to do it. If you know the right way to do it, you're going to get it done the right way, right? You're not out there guessing. So the biggest thing that I always run into is people are like, yeah, I searched how to build corporate credit online, and I went out and I opened a Uniline account and a Granger account. And I said, great. Did you register with the bureaus? No.
Well, yeah. What, yeah, I did. Dun & Bradstreet. Yeah. Well, there's 2 more.
Yeah.
You're 33% of the way there.
100%. And so then now they've been spending money that they didn't get credit for. And so that's why it's got to be done in an intentional order.
So take just a minute and tell everybody again who you are, what you do, and how they can get in touch with you.
Okay. Brent Barnhart with TJ Corporate Consultants. We actually just changed our name because we had to do a lot more things now, Roger. So we took out credit out of our name. So it's TJ Corporate Consultants. I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. I have had companies, very successful companies. Like most people had successful companies, had several not successful. And so I figured out a few years ago this path to accessing funding on that EIN number. And I had to tell the world. That's just who I am. I couldn't sit back and say, I'm going to hold this into myself. Got to tell the world. The best way to get hold of me, honestly, would probably be just a phone call or a text message. It's the easiest way. My number is 620-212-5746.
Good deal. Starting and getting rid of multiple businesses and seeing what you see in the corporate world today. What would you do first if you were starting a new company today?
I would get an address. Not my house.
Yeah, Google doesn't even like that.
No. Well, and it's funny because I do office out of my house. And our company's actually, I'm in Tulsa, but our company's based out of Wyoming. And
aren't most companies
most are
based
now.
out of Wyoming?
And we all have the same address too.
There you go.
So I do have a local Google listing, and when you look it up, I get 75 a month, 75 people asking directions to my office, and it's my house, right? So I do have a corporate office in Tulsa, but I don't ever go there. It's just, that's my address for some of my other businesses.
You bet.
And so mail just gets forwarded. So that is what I would do first, because you have to get an EIN number. You have to get stuff set up with the state, and it all has to match. So if you do an EIN number from your house, and then you go get your office and you do the state from the corporate office,
Nothing's
office,
the same.
Nothing's the same. Now you're going back and correcting. And like I said earlier, the IRS, it can take 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to get that stuff straightened out.
Well, this is something we're working on. We're trying to get there. We understand the value of corporate credit. And with us doing all the things out here we're trying to do, it's like, it would be nice to know it's there. We're trying to do it without using it, but it's always nice to know, hey, if I needed to go borrow $100,000 today, I could go get it, especially at a low interest rate. And instead of waiting to build what I'm trying to build, go ahead and build it. And then as the money comes in that I'm looking at, it rolls over and just pay it off early, anything like that. Any penalties for paying stuff off early?
It's actually better. It helps slingshot the score forward quicker. So, I'll give you an example. I'm, that company that I started March 27th, I had actually ordered in December before that a Ram TRX, $120,000 truck, ordered it. And they called me and said it was in May. And I was like, okay, well, so the dealership calls me and says, hey, your truck's in. I'm like, cool. Send me the business application. I'm going to put in my business name. And the guy goes, oh, what's your business? And I said, well, I don't know. And he goes, what do you mean you don't know? You're going to put this vehicle in your business name. I said, well, funny enough, I have their approval profile to the lending institution. Just send me the application for this one lender that you guys work with.
There you go.
And he said, okay. So he sends me that application over, and I filled it out because I had their approval criteria in my platform, and I sent it back to him. And I'm in Tulsa, I told you. The truck was actually in Kentucky, Paris, Kentucky. And I told him I was going to make arrangements to meet him in Memphis. So I sent an application back, and he goes, we'll let you know if they approve you. And I said, no, let me know when they approve.
Yeah, let's get this right. I'm already approved.
And so within 1 hour, he calls and goes, I can't believe they approved you. Because he asked me how much income my company had. And I said, none.
Right.
And within an hour, they approved me. And I said, I know. I already got my hotel booked in Memphis for Friday night. So
I love it.
Yeah. So it puts you in the driver's seat of everything. So, I won't do any business myself that's not doing this.
I love that. Well, man, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And I really do. I see how this helps a lot of people. That's why we're going through it.
Yep. I agree. 100%.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.